So you've shot everything, and now it's time to sit down your computer and edit that video. And you're starting to add in the story and build up the effects. But as you're going, you find like there's something missing. There's no pop, there's no it factor. Do you add another transition? Do you switch the song? A lot of times it's hard to figure out what to do. So I've gone through this exact scenario. With this video, I want to show a couple tips and tricks that are going to help you guys make that video pop. So before I jump into the reason why you guys clicked on this video, I want to show you an example of a video I made that I think uses some of the tips and tricks that I'll be showing in a really good way. Okay, so now that you guys have seen the video I made, there's only 3 things I really want to be talking about. What to shoot and what are the right clips to pick out of it, pacing of how you edit, the story you tell, and the transitions, music, and sound effects. Now I know that's 3, but they're pretty much all in one. So with tip 1 of what to shoot and what are the right clips to pick in the edit, the first piece of that is understanding composition. So with composition, you want to make sure that you're drawing the viewer's eyes towards what you want them to see, whether that's the basketball itself, whether it's the athlete's eyes, really whatever it is, you want to frame your shots so that they're showing people exactly what you want to show them. A great example I use in this video is I look to shoot a lot of isolated shots because I think people connect with the athlete's eyes, and I think that they want to see people smiling, celebrating, maybe they're upset. There's something about human connection when you're looking at the eyes that I think draws the viewer further into the experience. Another component to composition is all about angles. Low angles, high angles, wide, tight, and personally with sport edits, I always shoot low angle. When you're on a low and especially a wide angle, they look more heroic, more intense and more impactful. And when you're shooting a sport edit, you want your subject, the players, to look as badass as possible. So I always tend to shoot low. I'm sitting on the ground shooting up towards the basket and capturing as much as I can of the play. Now the last point I'm going to cover is as I'm shooting the game, I tend to be moving my camera a lot because I think when you move along with the athlete in a fast manner, it really picks up the pace and adds intensity to the footage you're shooting. So what happens when you shoot a lot and you're moving fast from subject to subject is it opens up another space for transitions, which you can see in the video I used. I'm always panning across to new athletes. If there's a moment of a pass, there's a shot, I tend to keep a lot of movement, and it opens myself up in post if I didn't plan it properly to add a transition. So moving into tip number 2, this is probably the most important tip I think there is to editing any type of Instagram edit, sport edit, or whatever, is pacing. The first thing I like to do is set my song in the timeline completely on its own and start chopping it up into how long I want to keep the video. I tend to keep things a minute. I don't like to go too long or too short depending on the purpose of this video. So what I did was I cut the song so that there's a short little intro. It goes into high action, high paced music, and when I felt like that first song was starting to like lose its speed, I found a point in it where I can make a transition into a second song and keep that intensity going. So what that did for me is it created a mini climax within it. I had my exposition, I had my rising action and like the heat of the moment, the fun highlight, then it sort of slowed down again and fell into this gradual fall of the story, and then it picked up again with another climax of a new song. It creates another peak of interest for the viewer. I know we all go on Instagram, we're scrolling, and if we don't get interested right away, we're gonna click off. So creating that extra like impact, that extra punch, that peak of interest, people are gonna stay on your video longer and it's gonna seem more interesting. You also wanna make sure, depending on how fast the song is, you don't leave clips too long. Like I find that one of my biggest issues is I leave clips too long and things are hanging, and you don't have to show the guy, deke the guy out, step back and shoot a 3. You can show just the deke and then cut to the guy shooting. It doesn't really matter, and I think people get in their heads like I have to show the full play progress, when in reality, you can really get around a lot of things. Now the last thing I want to mention is edit to the music. So when there's a slow moment in the song, you want to have some sort of slow moment in the play, or if there's a fast moment or a high impact, you want to have a thing that's in the game that matches the intensity, matches the song. It's going to make the footage seem like it's supposed to be with the song, and it just further immerses people into the experience of the edit. Alright, so the last point that I want to make, it's not necessarily the most important, but I think this is what sets those 8 out of 10 edits, those 7 out of 10 edits, up another point, maybe even 2 points, and that is sound effects and using music as well as sound effects to create transitions. And when it comes to a sport edit, I tend to go with something very fast-paced, high impact, exciting music, because I think it matches sports perfectly. Like I said earlier, I found that slow part in the Uzi song, and I used that moment to hard cut to that new song with that high impact. The way that I also took that cut and made it less apparent is I matched it with a high impact clip along with a sound effect. So that sound effect I used was a whoosh and an impact. When I add an impact, it just adds that extra like punch and that oomph to that clip, and it just makes the transition that much more seamless. I also had a flame transition, which was mainly a film burn where I added this fire sound underneath it, as well as a VHS transition that had this glitch sound effect to it. All in all, what this does is it associates a sound with that transition and adds this feel to it that makes the audience buy into it further. It's important to also capture the sounds of the game. Any sound that you hear in the environment that you're shooting, you should have some sort of copy of it, whether you record it or you get it online. So what that does is it creates the environment more than just what you're seeing, but what you're hearing. And it makes the audience feel like they're actually there rather than just watching something online. And I made sure when editing that I took those sounds and implemented them properly into the video. For example, oftentimes even if there wasn't a crowd reaction, there was just a regular play, I was keeping in the squeaking on the floor. Or when there's an impact, maybe it's a block, it's a shot, whatever it is, I have that crowd noise that comes in and cheers. Now, obviously it's important to add these sound effects, but what's extremely important is that you mix them into the video properly so it's not overbearing. A lot of times I watch videos and I think I hear the sounds of what I'm watching too clearly, and sometimes I can tell that it's a recording that they've downloaded offline. When you're able to tone down that volume, it integrates the viewer into the experience because it feels like everything is meant to be. You want to make that viewing experience as easy as possible for the viewer, and the only way you can do that is by associating good sound and video together. Alright, that's a wrap. Those are all the tips I have for you guys. If you have any questions, please leave a comment in the comment section. I'm going to get back to you. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and I look forward to seeing you again.